between the nuclear weapon states and the non-nuclear weapon states to look at security in the region. This has been a long-standing goal of the six-party talks and all the countries there. Fourth, this will make the future denuclearization of North Korea possible through the security assurances and monitoring and verification systems that it has demanded. And finally, a zone in Japan and Korea would support the movement for global nuclear abolition by creating a new nuclear weapon-free zone and reducing the reliance on nuclear weapons as an element of security policy in the region. Thank you so much. It's been an honor and a privilege to talk to you today.
The proposal of Korean-Japan bilateral nuclear weapon-free zone, and I hope to discuss about his proposal with you guys later in the discussion time. Yes, and now I will introduce the last speaker of NGO, Mr. Yuasa, and he will make us listen to about the local authorities' role for nuclear weapon-free zone in Korea and Japan. Yes, please, Yuasa.
Thank you. At the beginning, Ms. Nakamura, Peace Depot, will speak, but just before she cannot come to New York, so I will report. I would like to speak by draft of Keiko Nakamura, and mainly aspects of movement, how to make progress of to establish Northeast Asia nuclear weapon-free zones. I would like to briefly explain about recent developments on how NGOs in Japan and South Korea have created momentum towards the establishment of a Northeast Asia nuclear weapon-free zone. In cooperation with national parliamentarians and local authorities. It's been more than 10 years since we, Peace Depot, proposed a Northeast Asia nuclear weapon-free zone. Since then, NGOs both in Japan and South Korea have made efforts to win support for the initiative. In 2004, we announced in a workshop in the UN headquarters like this, a model Northeast Asia nuclear weapon-free zone treaty drafted in cooperation with activists and scholars. We believe these efforts have successfully nurtured a common understanding in civil societies in Japan and South Korea about the significance of a Northeast Asia nuclear weapon-free zone. Nevertheless, in order to move a step forward towards the establishment of a nuclear weapon-free zone, either of the two countries, hopefully Japan, must build its political will to achieve the goal and put the issue onto the table of a diplomatic negotiation. But it is not easy to make national governments abandon their long-standing faith in nuclear deterrence in Northeast Asia, where we are still captive in the cycle of mutual distrust over the nuclear issue and engaging in arms race. We consider the synergy of three parties, that is to say, civil society, parliamentarians, and local authorities is most important to make governments in this region take action. As Mr. Hiraoka said in the speech, more and more parliamentarians in Japan and South Korea have become interested in the Northeast Asia nuclear weapon-free zone initiative. In Japan, a coalition government was born as a result of the general election in last September, which is led by the Democratic Party of Japan, whose electoral pledge included the denuclearization of Northeast Asia. We Peace Depot prior to this in August 2008, disarmament study group of the Democratic Party of Japan released a draft Northeast Asia nuclear weapon-free zone treaty. And in February 2010, 4 Korean parliamentarians visited Japan to take part in an international conference about the Northeast Asia nuclear weapon-free zone with the Japanese counterpart and NGOs in Tokyo. This conference was held jointly by PNND Japan and Korea. Parliamentarians of both countries also released a joint statement at the end of the conference. 93 parliamentarians in Japan and South Korea have signed the statement so far. We would like to make more efforts to support parliamentarians to disseminate this petition widely. The next target for us is the meeting of UN General Assembly in this fall. The annual General Conference of PNND will also be held around the time. We would like to encourage parliamentarians to get more signatures in both countries and submit the petition not only to the governments of Japan and ROK, but also to the UN Secretary General and the President of the UN General Assembly. We are also thinking to pressurize parliamentarians in each constituency to take part in the activities of PNND and raise public awareness about the nuclear issue in the next general election. Next, I would like to talk about our cooperation with local authorities. Needless to say, the issue of disarmament and security should not be dealt with solely by our national governments. These issues are closely related to the lives of people living in local communities. This way of thinking is embodied in nuclear-free declarations which have spread out nationwide in Japan since the 1980s. As Mayor Taue said, over 80% of Japanese local authorities have already declared nuclear-free, and we are still welcoming newcomers even now. As Mayor Ebine of Fujisawa City has just explained, some local authorities have enacted a local ordinance based on their nuclear-free declarations. National Council of Nuclear-Free Local Authorities is a network of 260 local authorities. One of the major themes of the Council has been the Northeast Asia nuclear weapon-free zone. Its establishment has been called for repeatedly in resolutions of past annual conferences, which were sent to the UN General Secretary, etc. Last year, National Council of Japan Nuclear-Free Local Authorities also published and distributed a leaflet whose title is Towards the Establishment of a Northeast Asia Nuclear-Free Zone. It is important to have more local authorities to join in the National Council, building up on the current momentum towards a nuclear weapon-free world. Nuclear-free local authorities movements can be pushed by making them adopt resolutions which call for the early establishment of a Northeast Asia nuclear weapon-free zone. It is also important to add that the city of Nagasaki's peace declaration announced on August 9th every year also includes the call for a Northeast Asia nuclear weapon-free zone. I would like to propose to utilize sister cities as part of grassroots diplomacy by local authorities. As of today, 462 local authorities in Japan have entered a sister city agreement with local authorities in South Korea or China. 333 Japanese local authorities with Chinese authorities, and 129 Japanese authorities with South Korean authorities. We can strengthen a common understanding on the promotion of a Northeast Asia nuclear weapon-free zone mutually with twin cities. It will also be helpful